It would not be an adequate celebration of this glorious day of April 20th if we did not reach out to I love Canadians, and I make no excuses about my love for Canadians. They're lovely, wonderful people, and they've been extremely kind to me personally, and they've been extremely kind to Boveda. So when the idea of celebrating 420 every hour on the hour came up, one of the first people that comes to my mind is Victoria Dekker, and there she is.
Hey,
Hello.
Drew.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so happy that you joined us. Happy 420.
I'm so happy to see you. It's so weird that we're not getting together, twice a year like we usually do. I miss running into you so much. You're one of my favorite people to see on the road. Yeah,
I found a great picture of us. Well, it's a great picture of me between three beautiful women in Vancouver at Canizaro or wherever that party was for.
Who can remember?
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of you wouldn't remember. I probably remember better than you do. But it's just such a good picture of everybody. I got to send that to you. I don't know if I sent it to you in the first place. It's just charming and wonderful. We met at trade shows in Canada. You were intimately involved in the beginnings of and the growth of Organigram. And then was that your first experience in the cannabis industry?
No, so I've been working in cannabis for the better part of the past 5 years. I started working in the space in a few different ways, but I've been working in media and communications for about 15 years. I worked as a journalist, an editor, and a content creator for the first 10 years of my career. And like I say, I've spent the past 5 in cannabis, working in cannabis communications, public relations, and brand strategy. But I got into the space as a patient. So I've been consuming cannabis for a really long time. I'm not going to say how long because I will age myself. However, I got my prescription around 2015. And around that time, I just got really invested in my medicine and started learning a lot about it. And, it was like I had, really like a license to consume and a license to be vocal about my consumption finally for the first time, which was something that I didn't feel like I could do beforehand, but I decided to take it and run with it. And I fell in love with cannabis in a whole new way the more I started researching about it, and decided that I wanted to devote all of my work and all of my time that I'm not with my family and doing other things that I love to cannabis. And the laws were changing in Canada at that time. They were set to change in a few states. And I decided to just dive in. So I started working with cannabis media properties, writing different kinds of content on cannabis. My work that I was doing with mainstream media properties, I shifted it all over to cannabis. So I started pitching nothing but cannabis stories and wouldn't do anything else. And then I started working with brands. So I got connected with a few emerging brands, both here in Canada and down in the US, and started helping them with their brand identity, brand strategy, content, and things like that. And then in 2017, I signed on to lead communications at Organigram.
So that's the context that I met you was with the gang from Organigram. And I have tremendous respect for them. You were with them for a period of time, and then you also had a stint with our friends over at WeedMD.
Yeah, so for the past 6-7 months, I've been working as a consultant for a few different licensed producers, but most recently did a pretty sizable and lovely stint with WeedMD, who have a few great brands under their umbrella, including the Color brand and the Saturday brand and the Starseed brand. So yeah, I was helping them out for a while on the communications team, and I've worked with a few other really great brands over the past year since I departed from OGI, including Stewart Farms, who's a really great aquaponics producer here in New Brunswick, and a few other emerging brands who I don't think they've made their debuts yet. So I'll be a little quiet about that.
So you were characterized in the org chart, at least in one of the things that I read, you were described as a terpene hunter or a terpene huntress. Was that is that accurate? Are you a terpene aficionado?
Well, I can't hold a candle to you guys for sure, but I love the smell of cannabis. Like, who doesn't? And I've been fortunate enough in the time that I've been, working in the space to have spent a lot of time in the growing environment. And so I'm not a growing expert by, any like stretch of the imagination, but I've had the pleasure of, getting to know the grow process very intimately and, leading groups of people through growing environments. So I've come to understand, the makeup of the plant and, what it takes to grow quality cannabis indoors, like reasonably well. At least at like a surface level. And, through all that time that I spent in grow facility, I just fell in love again with cannabis in a whole new way, which is around the aroma of fresh cannabis. And if you've never smelled it, you're really missing out. Like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're standing in a grow room, if you close your eyes, and depending on the strain, you can smell something completely different than, what cannabis would traditionally smell like in dry format. So, like fresh fruit or fresh flowers or even like cheese or gas or whatever, these names that, we've given these cultivars, they come from somewhere, and that's where, right? And so when you storage, as you guys, this is your whole thing, is really important. And when you preserve cannabis properly with, products like Boveda and, you follow general, like basic, storage rules, you can capture that aroma, right? And yeah, so I don't know if I would call myself a terpene hunter, but I certainly am a terpene lover.
Well, and the love is what radiates off of you when you talk about cannabis. You also, I recently read, I've done my homework on you, and I recently read a number of congratulations about you matriculating to yet another opportunity. Would you like to talk about that? I don't know how much I can divulge or how much we can talk about, but I'll leave that to you.
No, for sure. We can talk about it. So today I work for a company called Prohibition Partners. So they are global cannabis data and intelligence experts. However, I lead the growth of their PSYCH brand, which is the psychedelics division of their business, which has been up and running for about a year. But I've been brought on. I'm a week into the job, which so it's pretty fresh, but also really exciting for me. But I've been brought on to grow the brand and grow audience and help inform anybody who may be interested in the psychedelic space on the opportunities and the research that's going on and all that great stuff.
That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I appreciate you still including me in this celebration. And I'd like to say that while I'm not technically working in cannabis right now, I haven't gone far. So I'm hanging out with cannabis as like groovy cousin.
Cannabis and psychedelics are very friendly. They're very connected because what would the term be? From a liberty perspective.
Yeah, so cognitive liberty is one of the things that I've been talking a lot about recently.
I love that. Cognitive liberty.
It's a term that I love too, and it's something that I've obviously been thinking a lot about recently. And in the context of 420, 420 it's symbolic to me for a few reasons. If you don't mind if I go down this road about 420.
I want to hear this. I love this.
That's why we're all here, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like 420 and make no mistake, like I'm a cannabis consumer. Like I love, smoking a joint, like, everyone else. But like 420 to me isn't like all bong rips and pizza pops. Well, those are very important parts of 420 too. Like, let's be clear. But yeah, so my feelings about cannabis, really apply to psychedelics as well. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. is this freedom of consciousness, right? This idea that consciousness is, and like it should be at least, a fundamental human right. So, you know, when we talk about medicine, so let's look at medicine for a second, because that's like, it seems to be like the easiest starting point for people when we have these conversations. So at the very least, like access to all beneficial forms of healthcare should be freely available to anyone who seeks it, right? So, and this is where we started with cannabis. But even if we look at, you know, reproductive health or gender health or mental health, which is the thread that ties, you know, all health conditions together, they all apply in the same way, right? So again, this is just at a base level, but if cannabis and psychedelics and all other molecules that have this potential to improve and expand our consciousness, and help us live, you know, fuller and richer lives in this like truly finite amount of time that we have. Like I want to be someone who advocates and does, you know, good work to help us achieve that, you know, in my lifetime. And so again, this, you know, this idea, it applies to cannabis as much as it does anything else, right? You know, freedom of consciousness extends even like to non-medical cannabis too, like non-medical cannabis, you know, in that it's cannabis that isn't prescribed by a physician. But in saying that, like all cannabis, in my opinion, like all use is therapeutic in one way or another, right. Like whether it's to, yeah, and you would agree with this, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like whether it's like to get pumped up or, you know, wind down or to connect with friends or to connect with yourself, like whatever, whatever your reasons are for using, you know, cannabis, you know, provided that you are legal age to do so, you know, that should be, you know, your fundamental right to do, right?
Well, and you bring up an interesting point in my mind, because so many people that I talk to will, and there's a number of people that are not in favor of cannabis legalization or of psychedelic legalization and so on. Sure. And the characterization they make is always this unhealthy, stoned out, you know, useless personality that's not contributing anything to society. And I think about the people that I have met, and I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your bright, clear eyes, your lovely disposition, your ability to express yourself and share your passion for cannabis, psychedelics, overall health in general. Yeah. And I think I have met so many healthy, like really healthy, centered, spiritually alive, conscious, present people in the cannabis industry. It's like if people could just see this and experience it, you know, the lift shows that we would go to, you wouldn't know whether you were at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas or at a cannabis show in Canada. I mean, there's just a bunch of well-scrubbed, lovely people that are hanging out, pursuing their passion for the plant. And now you get to pursue your passion for psychedelics. And I got to tell you, I'm very careful about what I put in my temple because I've had such a wonderful run with alcohol and drugs in the past. Sure. But I will seriously consider microdosing to deal with my mental health stuff as the science evolves and as people present more evidence about what's possible. I think the opportunity to help people live better lives with less chemical side effects is outstanding with what I've heard about psychedelics so far.
Yeah, and so I'm nowhere close to an expert on this space, but you know what I can say is that psychedelics have they have massive potential to shake up healthcare in you know a major way. You know we're in the midst of a global mental health crisis. Oh, yeah. You know this is something that's
understatement.
You know, well, for sure, right? And radical solutions, you know, to treating people. You know, are needed now more than ever. And there are a lot of studies that are underway that are showing that in some cases that the efficacy of some of these molecules is huge after, you know, a couple of doses. People are making leaps and bounds in their recovery, you know, in a few short sessions that, let's be clear, are very structured and guided, you know, and very intentionally set up. But, you know, they're achieving, you know, they're going leaps and bounds, you know, coming farther than they have, you know, in a few months than they have in years, especially folks with PTSD. So there's a lot of potential here, and a few of these studies are being fast tracked in a few regions around the world because, you know, the research looks so promising. So yeah, you're right. There is a lot of potential, and yeah, I'm really excited about the
cognitive future. Liberty. I love that.
Yeah,
I'm going to use that, and I'm going to thank you for being so wonderful to join us on 420 to celebrate this sacred plant and the opportunities that you have going forward with the psychedelics. Is awesome. I'm really excited for you and excited for the world to have somebody like you advocating for destigmatization, normalization, healthy communication. I look forward to seeing your words and hearing your words about this in the future. Just love you to pieces and can't wait until we get a chance to see each other at a show again. When are the Canadians going to let us Americans back in?
I don't know. So I heard the other day that Lyft had rescheduled their show. I think they were going to do it in at the end of the summer, but I think they rescheduled the Toronto show to November. So hopefully we'll
let you in. Why don't you come down for TPE in May in Vegas? And
if I'm allowed, you know.
Yeah, I think you guys can come here all you want.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. You're welcome here. It's just the Canadians won't let us germ-infested Americans in. Just thank you so much for joining us, and happy 420 to you and your family, and say hi to everybody, and stay fabulous, and we'll see you again soon. Victoria Dekker, she's now in a new role at PSYCH.